The Minnesota Vikings perfect season is no more after they fall to the Detroit Lions 31-29. And who better than to react to this game than offensive coordinator and defensive guru, Jake. Jake, as always, thank you so much for taking your time away from watching game tape to discuss this game.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure. Pleasure as always.
I will say this. Anyone can react to a Minnesota Vikings 5-0 season. It's easy to say, oh, we're one of the best teams in the NFL when the team is 5-0. But I will say this. When the Minnesota Vikings lose, this is one of our strengths. This is one of our strong podcasts because we are not overly emotional. We are not overly attached. We want the Minnesota Vikings to win. We want them to win the Super Bowl. But when they lose, our days aren't ruined. We don't yell at the TV. We don't scream and yell, and our days aren't ruined for the rest of the day. So you are going to get and receive some objective analysis that only happens, well, it happens after wins too, but it also happens after the Minnesota Vikings lose.
Speak for yourself. There was a chair that was thrown through my window, so I got some things I got to fix.
Can you show me video evidence of this?
No, I'm just kidding. I would never get
that. But anyway, Vikings lose 31-29, and already after the Vikings lost, I've already seen Kevin O'Connell can't coach. I've already seen Minnesota Vikings were pretenders. I've already seen the opposite too. Oh, just one game. But my first reaction after the Vikings loss was, well, there goes 20-0. I thought we were going to go undefeated the entire season. I thought we were just going to go a perfect 17-0 in the regular season. You got the bye week, and then you win 3 playoff games, 20-0 perfect. I thought it was happening this year, Jacob. I'm completely flabbergasted and disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we all thought, especially before the season. So,
right.
No, I think my biggest takeaway is that was just a fun football game to watch. Sometimes you watch a 3-hour game, you're like, that was a waste of my time. Like,
right.
Kind of a, whatever. That was a thoroughly enjoying, 3 hours of my life. So
that was an enjoyable football game. The Vikings got that early lead, 10-0, after Dan Campbell's gift of a fake punt. And it looked like it was going to be a fake punt, which is why I think the fake punt didn't work. The skies.
If he would have pitched it to that option guy, I don't know if you watched it again. There was a guy that was running. I mean, I don't know if he would have got it, but he would have had a shot of getting it at least compared to what he decided to do. But
he just held on to it and got clobbered, and then Aaron Jones runs it in for a long touchdown. Vikings are up 10-0. We're going to dominate the Detroit Lions. It's looking amazing. And then the Detroit Lions score 21 straight points, go up at halftime, 21-10. Vikings have no timeouts to try to slow them down at the end of the first half or try to score. But then Vikings, second half, score a touchdown, 21-17. Lions respond, 28-17. Vikings respond again with a field goal. I think am I doing this right? 28-20.
Yep.
They respond again with another field goal, 28-23.
Yep.
And then the Lions got the ball. Josh Metellus with a peanut punch on the Lions running back, Jahmyr Gibbs. Ivan Pace Jr. takes it in, 29-28. And I think this is where the analysis comes in. Because, you talk about the first 3 quarters, back and forth, Vikings up 10-0, Lions. But when you don't get that 2-point conversion, 29-28, you open up that door for a game-winning kick, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I personally was waiting for the text from Adam, our cousin. I was like 99.9% sure here comes the game-winning drive from the Lions for a field goal for the win. But
it didn't happen.
Not that it's a very minor correction, but I think the fumble was Montgomery, I think.
Oh, was it Montgomery? He came back into the game?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that was him. But
not
that really matters that much. Although
it was Montgomery. Yep.
If you post that reel online though, then you'll have Lions fans.
The Lions were 5-1, not 4-1. Are you kidding me? It wasn't Jahmyr Gibbs.
No, I mean, I don't know. I mean, so they were tested. They made plays. Yeah. They made plays on offense. They made plays on defense. They were able to run the ball, threw the ball okay. A few small mistakes against a team that, most would say is a NFC, favorite between 49ers are still the favorite despite their record. But the Lions are right there up there with them. So you held serve against which is technically the second best team in the conference.
Right.
Would you like a better 2-point conversion play? Probably. That one seemed like it wasn't so good.
Yeah, Darnold threw it in the dirt, gave it no chance.
They gave him no shot. I mean, there's certainly mistakes. That Darnold interception, whenever that was, second quarter, I think it was. Jones was like wide open, and he was jumping up and down, waving his arms for the ball. Darnold was trying to force something. There were some things to clean up, but defense made plays when they had to get us back in the game. And then all of a sudden at the end, they didn't make plays.
Right.
My question is, why is it always so easy for teams to run, to move the ball down the field when there's 2 minutes left? It's like, and it's not like the Vikings were in prevent or anything. They were, they were doing regular defense. But I swear, if you need a drive down the stretch,
yeah,
no matter who your team is, it's automatic. I even saw the Dolphins had like a 60-yard drive. They stalled out because they suck. But they had a 60-yard drive when they needed it to get into the red zone, and then they went for it on fourth down to get it. But it just seems like anytime the game's on the line, everybody just can move the ball all of a sudden.
It seems like similar to a no-huddle offense. It seems like a no-huddle offense always works. Right? Yep. It seems like anytime a team goes no huddle after first and second down, they just march all the way down the field. And then the question becomes, well, why didn't they do that earlier? Yep. I will say this, though, about this game. There is no team that I'd rather have defeat the Minnesota Vikings than the Detroit Lions. Now, I know that they're a division team or whatever, but Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions are such an easy team to root for. Because of their aggressiveness. They're on their, the fake punt, whatever that was. And then
that was questionable probably. But
late in the game, you would think that they're trying to burn some clock, kick the game-winning field goal as time expires. Well, Dan Campbell, play-action pass. Ben Johnson calls a play-action pass. They throw it down on the field. They get to the Vikings 20, 25-yard line, basically seals the game. And that's not a play call that many coaches would attempt in that situation because you just want to burn the clock off and let your kicker kick a last-second 45-yard field goal. It still ended up being a 44-yard field goal, but the aggressiveness is so easy to root for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, and they just, again, it's something about they've always been bad for so long. They just don't bother you as much. Like the Packers,
that's true.
They're always solid, so they bother you.
Yeah.
The Bears, I don't find the Bears overly annoying either. They've also not been great. That's probably the main reason, right? The Packers are just always good, so we hate them. But if the Lions have a nice extended run here, eventually they're going to get annoying because if they keep kicking the Vikings' butt. But
that's true.
No, they are fun to watch. And, I mean, they've kind of – Jared Goff was some scraps, right? They traded Stafford, and Goff was kind of like the throw-in, we don't even know if he's going to be our starter, but we'll take him. And he's turned himself in, a second stage of his career has been a nice one. David Montgomery was kind of just pushed aside by the Bears, and, he's had a great couple years. St. Brown was not a high draft pick. So they have a lot of guys, you're right, that are easy to root for. And then you got Campbell leading the way and biting people's kneecaps at his first press conference, right?
Right.
And everyone's like, who's this jackwagon and how is he going to be successful? But he is, and they all buy in. So, no, I mean, it's
fun to watch.
Yeah, it's the kind of game that obviously you're annoyed to lose. You wish they would win and blah, 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 blah. But they showed a lot of the things that they needed to show to prove that they are a division competitive team, right? That they are a playoff team, that push comes to shove in the playoffs. Will they at least be in the mix? Absolutely, in terms of winning some playoff games. That's kind of what I was looking at. The Lions were the team you need to beat. They showed they are capable of beating them. It'd be if they lost by a touchdown or 2 touchdowns, or even like if they didn't make that fourth quarter run, you would start to kind of wonder a little bit, probably like, there's a clear tier maybe between the Lions and Vikings, and I don't think there's a tier. I think they're the same tier. Lions are better. They're a little better, but they're in the same tier.
Right.
We play 10 times, the Vikings can beat them. So.
Right. Yeah. And just watching that game, you look at the small details that ultimately determine the outcome of the game. For example, the 2-point conversion that the Vikings couldn't convert, 29-28. Well, Vikings get the ball back again, and they have a chance to put the game away. 3rd and 4, play action pass. Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison are on the same side of the field. Sam Darnold puts no touch on the ball. Fires a ball to Justin Jefferson that has no chance to be caught, and Lions get the ball back, score. It's like if the Minnesota Vikings got the first field goal or got the first down on that play, we might be looking at a completely different game. But the Minnesota Vikings got the 2-point conversion. So it doesn't seem like the Detroit Lions are head and shoulders above the Minnesota Vikings.
Nope.
It was a back and forth game. Vikings made their run, Lions made their run, Vikings made another run, and the Lions won by 2.
Yeah, you're
happens.
Totally right though. In terms of the Vikings, the ball was in their court at the end of the day, right? They had the ball ready to put the game away, and there's some variance there, right? So far this year, every time that we've had to put a game away, we've made the throws, right? The Jets, we made the throws.
Packers 49ers.
Yep, 49ers too. So we were kind of 3 for 3 on sealing end of game situations, and this was one where they missed, but that's going to happen. I mean, it didn't look like, I think it was Addison or it was Naylor, whoever that was that ended up in front of Jefferson, probably should not have been there. I can't imagine that was on purpose. If he's not there, Jefferson's that's an easier throw, and he's probably getting a first down. But that's just the way she goes sometimes. Darnold played fine. 259 yards and looked okay. I mean, he made some big throws. That one to Addison was nice, right? He shows his deep ball. He's showing some short ball. Biggest thing is Aaron Jones completely changes this offense.
For sure.
In the offseason, probably never would have thought that, that he'd have this kind of impact where when he's in the game, their team is different. And Ty Chandler and Akers and Gaskin, whoever else we got, not even close.
Right. 2 things in this game that I wish didn't happen. It was obvious that Jalen Naylor stepped out of bounds, and yet here comes the review for 25 minutes on Fox. It's like during the live play, you could tell that he was out of bounds and that the ball, as soon as he went out of bounds and, everyone's kind of freaking out that he scored a touchdown, the Detroit Lions player, and went up 28-10. It's like, it was super obvious that his foot was out of bounds, so I wasn't concerned at all. But for some reason, the replay took forever. And number 2, the 5-yard penalty at the end of the game. Kevin O'Connell just told the reporters at US Bank Stadium that he would have loved to send out Will Reichard out for a 68-ish yard field goal attempt at the end of today's game had there not been a penalty on the spike. But 73 yards was obviously too far. I would have loved to see Will Reichard attempt a 68-yard field goal because this guy has a cannon of a leg.
I mean, that's probably more likely than a Hail Mary, right?
For sure. Even a 73-yarder, I thought.
Yeah, maybe.
I know that's really far, obviously. I'm not stupid. Or am I? I don't know. But
when you post this one, everyone's going to say, oh, no one's ever made a 73-yard field goal.
I would have thrown him out for 73. I think I would have done it. I mean, it's a super far field goal. I mean, he made a 57 earlier in the game that was without a doubt had enough. But does it have 16 extra yards?
Yeah,
the adrenaline in the building? Probably not 16. Maybe 10.
But I say you could probably 65 would have been possible. So then at that point, 67, you say screw it because we're not
68
or 68.
It'd been a 68 yarder,
I don't know.
They would have thrown. I would have loved. How awesome would that have been? A Will Reichard just to see the field goal unit on the field.
Yeah.
On your own 45-yard line, trying to because the ball was on the 50. And then, you back up, 7 yards for a field goal attempt.
Yep.
So you had your own 45-yard line trying to knock down a kick.
I wonder if you're the Lions, do you kind of, because the whole point is he probably needs a little bit, do you think he changes his cadence, or, his steps to
Right.
get that far? Does he have to take an extra step? In which case, if you're the Lions, do you try to like block it? But then you risk any kind of running into the kicker,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even mean block it, but just like rush him so he can't get if he needs to get a little bit bigger of a running start kind of thing. I don't know. It'd be interesting. Because obviously it doesn't matter if it lands and hits the ground, it doesn't matter. Like if he misses it short, so you don't need people to return it or whatever.
Right.
Just be interesting.
What also bothered me at the end of the game is how long Sam Darnold held on to the ball. He threw the ball to Jalen later on the last pass play. But it seemed like it took forever to throw the ball when it's like you got no timeouts, and then he throws it to the middle of the field. So it's like you held on the ball for so long, then you didn't have – I mean, I guess they had a second to spike it, but not enough time for the offensive formation to get set without a penalty. So that kind of flabbergasted me a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's always hard. You could see he was trying to find one of the guys going along the sideline.
Yeah.
And none of them were open. And it's just one of those things that you either got to hit the check down earlier so that you have time to spike it, or you just have to force it to the sideline and hope it works out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he kind of chose neither and then got stuck in between.
Right. But, it just didn't seem like it panned out in that situation.
No, and it's hard. I don't know. I feel like people always underrate too, like how difficult it is in those moments, right? Your mind's racing. You're trying to. I mean, it's just, like we can all sit here and go, "What is he doing? Should have thrown to Naylor 5 seconds earlier. They could have spiked him." Blah, blah. It's like, well, I mean, I don't know. It's not always that easy. Sometimes
the couch potato is it's so much easier to judge the game as the couch potato.
Yeah.
Sure. Sam Darnold. A lot of comments after this game. He didn't play well. Here comes the real Sam Darnold. He had one bad pass as the Vikings were driving.
Yeah.
But 22 for 27, 259 yards, 9.6 yards average per throw, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. That is a very winnable performance by Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings offense.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of touched on it. He was one throw away from basically or getting very close to sealing this game as a win.
Right.
So, do you want him to make the throw? Yes. Did variance catch up to him again? Because he's already had 3 game-clinching drives this season in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
You're not going to, it's not like...
You're not going to be perfect like we were a couple years ago.
That's exactly right. Yeah, you're not going to win all those one-score games perfectly. It's just kind of not how life works. So, no, he played well enough to win, and that's kind of all you got to hang your hat on in terms of that's our last – the next – we got I don't remember the order, but I know we played the Titans.
We got the Rams on Thursday night this week.
The Rams on Thursday, who are not great. So, I mean, we have some very winnable games the next 3-4 weeks here where, the beauty of starting 5-0 is you do not need to, rally and finish super well to make the playoffs the way you want. Now, obviously, it's better to go into the playoffs winning some games. But, if we finish 500 the rest of the year, we're still going to be sitting pretty good. So.
Right. I think this is my takeaway from this game. Like I said earlier, you're not going to go 20-0 throughout the regular season. Not going to happen. Yeah. But when you have a quarterback like Sam Darnold, what can't happen now is you lose 2 or 3 games in a row.
Right.
So this next game against the Los Angeles Rams is massive. It's a road game. It's on Thursday Night Football. Who knows if Cooper Kupp will be available? He was inactive today. The Minnesota Vikings need to win that game. And if they lose, they're 5-2. But it cannot spiral out of control. You cannot compound losses in an NFL season with Sam Darnold as your quarterback, because then the doubts start circling, and then the questions start coming. Then the players, his teammates, start questioning whether or not he can actually do it. Then Sam Darnold probably starts doubting his abilities. So this game on Thursday, a short week on the road at the Rams, is huge for the Minnesota Vikings. I would argue that it is a must-win game for the team.
Yep, I would agree. Yeah. Yep. Not a whole lot to add. You're definitely right. Do you think would it be Nick Mullins' time then, or what? Do you think people would start calling?
It's never not going to be Sam Darnold time this season. It's always going to be a Sam Darnold time. But you cannot compound losses, especially when you're supposed to win them against the Rams. Yep. It just can't happen. Yep. So, this game
should be exciting to see how they rebound, because this is the first time they obviously coming off a loss. They got to retool. It's a short week. Got to figure out what they're going to do. And again, even though the Rams are not as good as they have been, they still have McVay, and they still have Matt Stafford, and they still have, some, they're a competent organization. Let's put it that way. So it's not like you can just show up and just curb stomp them. Like you're gonna have to go win the game still. So.
Right, for sure. Well, that's my reaction to this game. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, again, it's one of those losses that you just kind of. It was an exciting loss to watch. Did a lot of good things. Again, long term, can they beat the Lions? Absolutely. So life goes on.
Right. Well, everyone, thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button right there. And we thank you, Jacob. We thank you, audience, for making this podcast a part of your day.